Charlie. Mark, 1 Charlie.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm full of optimism.
Einstein's theory of relativity.
We're still seeing it quite well through that haze.
T-minus 37 seconds.
The fight is growing confident.
E equals MC.
That all men are created equal.
About the future innovation.
And growing strength in the air.
Tear down this world.
Head on. Something happening coming up on station.
This is Finding Your Frequency with your hosts, Jeff Spinard and Ryan Treasure. It's time to speak up, share your voice, and hear from the thought leaders.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of Finding Your Frequency. I'm your host, Ryan Treasure. And man, do I just love doing this show and bringing you guys great guests and talking about really things that matter in life rather than just a bunch of minutia. I always say, if you're not going to do something good, then don't do it at all. So let's make sure we'll make this episode better than all the rest of them, right? Always making steps forward. We had a great guest for you guys today, Anita K. She's a motivational life coach and strategic talent manager. She offers progressive solutions to help clients optimize their strengths and create a pathway of success. She's got her BS in marketing from USC and has spent 20 years in career advisory, coaching, and talent recruitment, both in leading corporations such as Samsung, Huawei Technologies, Broadcom, and United Healthcare. Anita K., welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ryan. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you know this wonderful world that we all now live in where we're cooped up at home and trying to figure out new routines from something that we've, had changed out from under us. I know it's been challenging, and I'm sure that a lot of your clients are turning to you for some additional motivational life coaching and some help in some areas of like, how do I work from home properly? And how do I, make sure to maintain my sanity? Let's get into some of that. But I think tell us a little bit about Anita K. and who you are and why you do what you do.
Well, thanks, Ryan, very much. And I'm really happy to have a platform with you and a few other media outlets, most recently during this climate that we have in our world. And there's definitely a lot of personal skills that we can all strengthen to help us manage forward. But a little bit about myself, I never really planned to be an author, let alone a life coach. Like so many, I spent several years seeking the right path to happiness. And for a big part of my adult life, I felt lost and unfulfilled, primarily due to an unwanted divorce, losing a parent that same year, within that 12 months, undergoing financial devastation through losing my business, and really learning how to navigate around the shame that I felt accordingly. And as much as I wanted to change, I was afraid to change until life forced me to make a much needed transformation. And it was then, Ryan, that I had an awakening, or that so-called aha moment, where I had to learn the courage to learn how to be brave and eventually find relief, understanding, compassion, forgiveness, and learn how to personally empower myself to move forward. And through the discoveries that I underwent, where many of us do, therapy, self-help books, yoga retreats, finding gurus, feng shui in your home, I can go on and on, hiring a coach myself, health and life, I embarked upon another purpose of life to really champion and help others with their bravery. And that's what I stand for today.
Oh, that's wonderful. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and conversations like you and I are having today are, things that are kind of an everyday thing for myself and my daughter. I'm not quite sure she quite understands the breadth of the things that we talk about, but
of course,
I just always told myself, like, you just keep on keeping on and helping to point her in the right direction, because being brave or being able to walk your own truth is probably one of the most self-gratifying things that a person can do for themselves.
I agree. Yes, it really is. And what's really interesting is that for many of us, it's a learned skill. It's really not something that's really natural or organic, or that we cover naturally as a child. it really takes a lot of inner work. And in my opinion, the secret to being brave rests on one core principle, Ryan. No matter what's going on in life, the key to dealing with it is doing the inner work. We've always heard that phrase, you can't change someone else. There's a lot of truth to that. You definitely can't change another person, nor should you even try. But what you can do, what's in your power, is change yourself. And I talk about in my book, Behaving Bravely, that starts with mind shifting our thoughts. And that's one of the most important concepts in the Brave system.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point too, because you don't come out of the womb with these types of life skills. These are things that are, learned by trials and tribulations. They're learned by, failing, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how many things I've learned just by failing, but then also how many things I've learned by trying and being able to fail and going, oh, all right, well, I didn't do it right the first time, but let's be brave and let's go try and fail again. I couldn't
agree with you more. And, when I think of brave, I grace my book cover with a lion head, because visually identifying with metaphors and visuals that are, and they're different for all of us, right, Ryan? But what does brave mean to me is very different from what brave means to somebody else. But I think we all have the goal in common. Or some fundamental truths is that sometimes you're correct. Starting over is healthy, and we can live authentic within ourselves, and we can redesign and reframe relationships through mindfulness and choosing forgiveness over resentment. So some of those basic foundations actually can become our truths on the stepping stone to build what I call lion-like courage that leads to this path of ultimate bravery that we must stay on at all times.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you talk about mind shift. Earlier, right in the beginning of the show, I was talking about, the current state that all of us are dealing with, with this whole virus thing, and who knows what other stuff's going on. Between you and me and everybody who's listening, I still think there's something else going on besides just COVID-19. Only because this is just so unprecedented. But this show is not about that. But at least I had to put my thought out there. But when you talk about mind shift, like all of us are dealing with a mind shift right now, right? You have moms who are the breakfast person, the lunch lady, the teacher, the PE coach, right? The help with all of that. And at the same time, those moms are also working at the same time and trying to maintain a revenue flow. Because as you know, there's been so many jobs that are impacted here. So when you talk about mind shift and being brave or being courageous, this particular situation will put you to the test.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. Definitely. Mind shifting is imperative. And it's not a magic bullet, it's not going to one solution and all these problems are going to vanish, like the morning fog, or something like that. But it really is an ongoing commitment of time and effort. And the more you put into it, the more you'll get out of it, of course. So it's not magical thinking. That doesn't do us good in itself either, or skimping on the hard inner work. It's really understanding when you make a commitment to maybe as small as a goal or something so much larger, that what the steps involve, and it's constant mind shifting to stay there and to accomplish that purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to running a business. And I think if a lot of people would, maybe sit down and make a list of goals, right? I mean, we do this all the time in business, each year.
That's right.
At Voice America, we've been in business 21 years. Myself and the two other owners of the company, we sit down and we go, hey, what are we going to do for 2019? What are we going to do for 2020? What are our goals? What do we want to accomplish? And, when you've been in business for 21 years, your goals, in the beginning, it was like, we want to make a bunch of money, and then it shifts into, we got to feed our families, but at the same time, what are we bringing to the table that's helping to, change the narrative in humanity and, give a stepping stone to, an awakening, right? Which I think is coming. The further and further I read and I do these interviews with awesome human beings like you, Anita, the more I learn that the human potential is just astoundingly amazing. And the more information that we have, the better off we become. And so I think something's on a precipice.
I think you're right. I couldn't agree with you more, Ryan. And it's interesting because I have a quote that I developed and it's in my book and on my social media. You're right. Companies are determined follow and align their right company mission, vision, and values. Mm-hmm. They exist due to their mission statement. But human beings or us individuals, we seldom develop vision statements for our own lives. And so when we do get off track, some of us, like myself included, stay off track for longer than expected. And we can develop vision statements for one or several areas of our life, or what is our ultimate purpose? Who do we want to be? And I think what you said is instrumental for any successful business or individual, no matter how large you want to be, or that size and scope, is what's your why? What's your purpose behind it? And then naturally it becomes very authentic. And I really believe you tend to see natural thought leaders and the ones that have been successful and say, very similar messages, all act through a solution-oriented mindset.
100%. And you literally just summed up what this show is about right there, finding your frequency.
Yes.
Being able to, weed through the weeds, walk through the fog, and still end up on the other side knowing who you are, what you want, where you're going, and what your purpose is. Those are things that are so important, because if you're not living an authentic life, or you're living a life of pain, or it's not a purposeful life. It's not a fulfilling life. You talk about what is the idea of success, and I'm sure the listeners have heard me say this before, and I think that success is kind of different for each person. It's not your idea of success is not the same as mine. For me, I'm just like I will feel successful as long as I continue to have a roof over my head. I'm not worrying about whether I'm not going to be able to pay my bills, and if in the next 14 years of my life that I have a well-adjusted human being that is my daughter. That for me would be the ultimate success. I'm not driven by how much money can I make or how much this can I have. For me, my success is, with my family, with how we operate as a unit, with, how my daughter ends up, or our daughter ends up being as a human being. That's like my most important job.
Oh, it's very commendable. And I have a daughter too, a lot older, in college. And that's also one of my very, heartfelt goals. And right, as a parent, we've got to live by example, and we have to showcase who we are. And it starts, we can start over as an adult. One of the premise I talk about in my book is how important it is to love ourselves. And we use that term so loosely, but I love that African proverb that reads, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. I love that. What it means is, let's accept our worst and our best self, by really learning how to be intimate with ourselves, because that is really the only thing we do have control over in the end, is ourselves. So by treating us well, respecting our boundaries and values, and listening to what's really deep in that frequency of our soul, is really how we can raise our vibrations. And when we completely accept ourselves, then we really showcase how we can begin to love and accept others as they are in turn. So in my book, I talk a lot about the brave steps that really help outline this personal roadmap by rewriting, self-beliefs with this mind-shifting perspective that can help us improve our view on our career and our relationships, and even in our personal development.
Yeah, we got to get away from the word can't.
We sure do.
Right?
Yes, we sure do.
It's okay to say it's not okay to say I can't do this. It's okay to say I can't do this right now.
Absolutely. And that's the goal, is being more gentle with ourselves and talking about our beliefs and what we can do, what we want to commit to in a more gentler way. And how would we say that to somebody else? You have a 6-year-old daughter, I have a 19-year-old. We wouldn't say, you can't do this. We would definitely be guiding them and mentoring them and shaping them with, hey, try this, and here's the plan B, and here's the plan C if plan A doesn't work out.
And lead by example.
So they know that, so falling is an option, but not to the point where it's detrimental, but it's more of a learning and teachable moment. And I think that is really the difference. And that keeps us in that practice of bravery. It's constant practice of managing our instincts. And especially in these fight or flight situations of what we're seeing in our environment today, but developing and strengthening this intuition that we naturally have that can serve us.
Are you having trouble finding hand sanitizer? Well, Spa Treat has you covered. There's no need to go searching high and low. Just visit spatreatofficial.com and place your order on their easy-to-use website. On schedule delivery. One of the great things about this product, Spa Treat Fulfillment Team is working around the clock to provide people hand sanitizer during this time of need and get your order to you as quickly as possible, even faster than Amazon. Spa Treat also has the lowest price of any of its competitors. Spa Treat has 62% alcohol content, and the FDA recommends between 60 to 80 for maximum protection. This one has 62 because it doesn't dry your hands out. I use this stuff every single day. It is fantastic. It's got certified organic extracts with the ingredients in that hand sanitizer that are of the highest quality, and they're designed to leave your hands smelling and feeling fresh while protecting you at the same time. The best part, there's no tricky residue left over. None of that sticky stuff. 4 scents available: unscented, tea tree, lavender, and lemon. And best of all, this product right here is made in the good old United States of America. A lot of companies are having trouble dealing with the current demands, so Spa Treat has dedicated themselves to providing a much needed product in the time of crisis. Spa Treat has better prices, faster shipping, and a larger supply than any of their competition. There isn't even a close second. Visit spatreatofficial.com and enter promo code SPA SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. That's right. Not only are they offering the lowest price available, but they're also offering our listeners a discount. This promo code is exclusive to Voice America, and only our listeners get this discount. Spa Treat and Voice America came together on this sponsorship in order to provide Americans something they could really need right now: peace of mind. Visit spatreatofficial.com and order yours today. That's spatreatofficial.com, and make sure you use the promo code SPA at checkout to receive 5% off your entire order. spatreatofficial.com. Get your awesome hand sanitizer. I always go back to my kid just because that's what I have to fall back on for my experiences. And it's kind of like riding a bike and tying a shoe, right? Tying a shoe, I can bend down and I can tie my shoe, and my daughter can watch me tie a shoe, and she can pick up how to tie a shoe, right?
Definitely.
She can't learn how to ride a bicycle by watching me ride a bicycle, right? So there's these skills that you learn where, you can lead by example, and you can say, hey, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. Let me show you how to do it. But then sometimes you have to just get on the bike and ride. And sometimes you just have to,
because you want to own the personal accountability as part of our growth. And no one can take that away from you. Whatever you develop, whatever you invest in is yours for keeps. And so when we talk about staying in our truth, it's not about describing something. It's actually about the experience.
It is about your experience. I want to talk about experience for a second too, since we're all experiencing this, level of, I don't even know. I'm going to call it stress. It's like literally what it is.
Yeah,
it's just
definitely. I think we don't beat around the bush. It's anxiety, it's uncomfort, it's worry, and it's stress.
Yeah. In your press release, it says Anita's loneliness nearly crippled her, cheating her of life's beauty. Undaunted by her pain, she rose up, behaving bravely to wrest her life back. Anita gained something more valuable than happiness. She found purpose to help others find their bravery. In this time where we're so anxious, so stressed, so worried about the unknown, what are some words of wisdom that you would give somebody who's maybe feeling like that they're stuck in their home, they're lonely in this particular area? What kind of advice would you give them right now?
I would love to. Right now, it is a very unique situation. We have to be careful of the social contagion that's adding to our community, the hysteria around the uncertainty. And I probably hear from pretty much every individual that wants to chat about it, and they use the word anxiety. And right, that's a symptom of something that's transpiring within us. We're getting the racy thoughts. We have a pounding heart. We can't focus at work or at home 100%. Some of us even have involuntary body movements. So there's a lot of disadvantages because it brings on the stress and it increases. But there are also advantages, anything that we endure that's not pleasant. So when we have occasional bouts of anxiety, it can be natural and sometimes even helpful. And it can even support being productive. And that even can promote your self-esteem. But some of the things that I'm talking about to answer your question is one, how do we replace these negative thoughts? So in my book, that's the first step of BRAVE. I coined a term called benevolef. And benevolef is benevolent self-beliefs. So it's rewriting, in our mind and out on paper or with a loved one, telling yourself a new belief that immediately can put you in more ease. So for example, that could be, I might have a client that says, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me in my career and I have no hope. Instead, we kind of talk about the feelings and rewrite the attitude that's behind the tone of that voice to, this is temporary. I've been through major uncertainty before. I'm going to rely on ABC to get me through the moment, to get me through the day. So one is replacing our negative thoughts with a benevolef. And that takes some emotional planning. I think we also need to look for opportunities to express gratitude and appreciation. Practicing altruism towards our behavior. So we're all at home with our loved ones. We are virtually engaging probably more frequently than we ever had with our loved ones. So it's really important to know that that's a good thing. Second thing is I tell a lot of my clients how important right now it is to stay in your lane. That we have to accept what we're only responsible for and what we can personally do. And three, a lot of this, we've got to balance the information that we're seeking from news reports with enjoying our life. And so, it's a time to, this spring, do the things you always wished you had time to do within reason and time. Launch projects that give you a sense of purpose. Focus on what makes your life worth living. Still plan for that vacation. Still plan for when you're going to have your wedding date and things like that. And then I think a few other things is I think it's important to leap into your faith. If you're a faith-based individual, focusing on appreciating can feel very potent during this time. Lens the situation as an opportunity. And I talk about, the symbolic of bravery with the lion in my book. And what I love about lions, Ryan, is that they're one of the few species or cats that live in groups, these family groups called prides. So prides are family units. So I do a lot of cheerleading about partnering with our prides. So virtually seeing the faces of those that we love or identifying key instrumental people in our life that we can adopt as our prides for comfort and to help us through this because we're not alone. Of course, structure your wellness because the anxiety spikes when our structure falls apart. Definitely, maintain compassionate self-care. Sometimes that means we've got to detox from our technology and the outside noise. And then just like a lion, we've got to mark our territory, just as lions do. Mark where you manage best within your home. Create that space that will, still support you and continue to flourish. Because there's a lot of opportunities. Everybody's talking about there's going to be a new normal. Well, we have a choice on how we want to design that new normal for us.
Yeah, that's 100%. And, it's almost like with every issue or every problem, every item like that comes up is an opportunity to make change for the better, right? And so, trying to keep that top of mind when we're all going through this, I think is a good piece of advice I would give. And
I couldn't agree with you more. And, we're doing it in this trifold personas of ourselves. So first we've got to tell ourselves and engage within ourselves at our highest during this time to stay in that optimistic and not pessimistic emotional state. Then we've got to, lead that for our loved ones. And if we have professional careers or we're employers, shifting all that to help with our staff, which I think is a double-edged sword right now. So it's doing it in multiple platforms of who we are.
Yeah, that's 100%. One of the things that you said, you're talking about faith and keeping your faith. I have just a story for you. When I was in boot camp, I graduated high school early when I was 17 years old, like about a half a year early. And by the time all of my regular class were, walking and graduating in May, I was in boot camp for the United States Navy. And
that's fantastic.
For a bunch of years when I was really young, like 0 years old to like 8 or 9 or 10, my family, we went to church every Sunday. And then I kind of got a little bit older and started asking questions about faith, and felt like I wasn't getting the answers that I wanted. So I stopped going to church. Mm-hmm. But then for whatever reason, I found the most amount of solace in boot camp going to the Sunday services, and reading from the Bible and communing with people and that kind of thing. And so I do think that whatever your faith is, I do think that that's really important to hold dear. And of course, we're recording today on the 7th of April. Tomorrow's Palms. What is Wednesday the 8th? It's a Passover. Thank you.
Yes.
So a lot of people are, going into this Passover holiday with a whole bunch of fear and anxiety and not knowing. But I think if they take a step back and remember, why they have that faith in the first place, that helped them to really get through that. And then on a second story that I have for you that I thought was really interesting, you were talking about, you had a customer of yours or a client of yours who, was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. Just my whole world is crumbling. I have a friend of mine who owns a multi-million-dollar production company, and they can't do any work. They can't do any production work. They can't do concerts. They can't do anything.
It's hard.
All of those things have closed. So her business is effectively completely shut down at the moment. She still owns her company, but her company has no employees now. She's had to lay them all off, so they could go find other work. And being the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company, I was kind of looking at her like, I wonder what she's going to do, and she just shocked the crap out of me. And I get a text message from her and she's like, hey, I'm working at this place. Do you want me to deliver you a pizza?
Oh, I love it.
So
yes, no ego and managing our ego. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No ego about it. It's about surviving. It's about giving back. It's about going to that plan B and that plan C. And there's no shame about it. It's being responsible, Ryan, is the ultimate.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. But a lot of times, people, they get in their own way. They do. They have this, I'm a CEO of a company. I'm not delivering pizzas. And I think that a lot of people need to get out of their own way, because that mentality is stopping you from, even if you are a CEO, and yeah, great that you're a CEO, but what are you doing to help your employees or make things more effective for your business or your brand or whatever? Like, that's one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate when people sit up on their high horse and preach about something they've never done before.
Mm-hmm. And, it's very interesting that you say that, because, they get figured out pretty fast, and they're not relatable. So when they develop these reputations and they only can stay in their C-level seat, and things turn around and they open that next company, if they develop somewhat of a sour reputation, that's going to travel faster than them building their company. And sometimes it's not about hiring, and I do a lot of hiring and a lot of career coaching with my HR and talent acquisition background, and I influence and coach a lot of leaders at all, from manager all the way up to C-level, and I try to maintain my bravery with all respect, and I've let people know that sometimes they don't know really what their why is. What is the purpose behind of what they're saying? And they've got to go back and constantly stay connected to their product, their service. Employees at all levels, CEOs aren't talking to the customer, their subordinates are.
They should.
Yeah. And so being disconnected definitely won't help. And I would love personally to work under a CEO that that has been a CEO, has built a company and dismantled it, drove for Uber and delivered pizzas. People like that, so dimensionally attractive and interesting. And those kinds of life lessons that executives and the everyday person partners with is just icing on the cake. I find people like that through, actually.
And Anita, that's one of the reasons I've been at Voice America for 16 years. Our CEO, Jeff Spinard, and I, we actually met at a different radio station when he was doing radio advertising sales at a standard AM FM station before he even started this company. And it was one of those things where I didn't even get invited to work here from him. I got invited by a subordinate, somebody who was much lower down in the chain of command. And they're like, hey, we need help running mixing boards. You're really good at that. Can you come over here? And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm almost done with school too. So can you guys let me work part-time for the next 3 months so I can finish my schooling? I was just about to graduate from the Academy of Radio and Television Broadcasting. And so I'm like, yeah, let's totally do that. And, over the years, we've, developed this relationship, and I've literally watched him say, hey, I saw the email come through about some issue you guys were having. You know what? I'm going to call the customer. And I went, you're going to call the customer? And he's like, yeah, I own the place. I should be able to call the customers, right? And I said, no, that wasn't my point. I said, it's not normal that a CEO or a president or owner of a company is going to pick up the phone and call somebody, one of their customers who has a very minor problem that could easily be managed by great customer service, which, you should have in place anyways. But that just spoke to his character, and I've watched some of those things happen over the years with, people needing help and how he does that. And that's the reason why I'm here. I mean, Jeff and I started this show based off a book that he wrote called Finding Your Frequency, How to Broadcast Yourself and Your Message. And that's the reason why this radio show exists. It's the reason why Voice America exists. And
the ultimate infinite benefits that it's giving back. And I think good leadership, whether you're a CEO or whether you're a pizza manager or whether you're a high school student, fundraising right now, how are you shifting, targeting these pandemic customized messaging? How are you carrying yourself? Are you offering compassionate solutions? And I think a lot of employers need to ensure right now that they're taking care and protecting their employees, because that's the number one worry, And so I think when you think about employee engagement and you really focus on your biggest asset, that shows your human side, and that meets all the messaging that we're hearing in the marketplace. We really are here together, and we really are here for one another. And I think that's very telling. And you're going to see the wonderful thought leaders and emerging leaders that never forget for 5 minutes how important that is, versus the ones that don't carry those messages and they're only behind profits and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody needs profit. You gotta be able to make a living, but at some point too, like, where do you draw a line in the sand and be like, okay, I have enough profit. What am I really doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it goes back to what we're talking about: finding your frequency, your vision, your purpose, that awakening. How do you want to be remembered in this world, and how to live that purpose-driven life? Because that's where you're truly fulfilled. We can be fulfilled on a day-to-day, but when we're really giving back as a parent, as a pastor, as a mentor, as a life coach, as an executive, as a musician, as an artist, and you're impacting others very positively, that's really key to the ultimate happiness. And that really is standing on a foot of courage, because that's a choice. It's not something that's necessarily do to survive. But when we do make that leap and we move into other risky environments to do so, that form of bravery is very valuable for oneself.
Very, very well spoken. I got to give you applause on that
one. Thank you very much. I just think it helps keep us focused on what's most meaningful, which is different for everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, and as long as you have the ability to take a couple of steps backwards and identify what that is, you'll be okay.
Definitely. Yeah, and we talk about, shifting forward, shifting backward. That really is what it takes. It really takes going left and right, forward and backward to really strengthen it and getting into a groove and doing those checks. Absolutely. So state of mind, I think, is we really all have to reflect on our current attitudes, no matter what's going on and where we are, and the dispositions before we can change them for the better. So constantly taking a personal pulse and recognizing the factors that are affecting us are very key before we can make any plan of any kind.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. Anita K., what's next for you? Like, you got this book, you got your business, you've learned all of these wonderful things. Where do you go from here?
You know, I stay on my messaging in a bigger way is where I'd like to go, and teach others the concepts from my book, How to Behave Bravely, to a larger audience, Ryan. That means through media streams, global media streams, the corporate sector, the academia, educational sector, because they're good, simple life lessons, as simple but advanced as they can be, where I feel we all need them, and to really align with the individuals that need those allies. They don't have, a family structure in place or a solid professional support system. So I love to venture out into the areas where there's gaps. And how can I bridge them with my voice and also say, I have my story too. I'm not talking about, I'm not a life coach that hasn't been through a lot of trials and tribulations. I, not now, but at one time, lost everything and had $300 to my name with the child and had to forcefully move out of home. I know what it's like to live in the ultimate fear and to work on transformational steps to really turn your life around while you're still in fear. You're managing fear, but you're building courage, and they go hand in hand. So to really break those things down in a simple fashion to help others is my goal. So to continue doing what I'm doing, Ryan, but deliver it in much larger platform.
Oh,
I hope a second come out of that.
Yeah.
Which I would love to commit to, and more.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I just really love your messaging and being brave and, explaining the principles of brave along with your, step-by-step tools and affirmations and all that fun stuff that you have in the book. I want to make sure everybody goes and gets the book, right? It's independently published in 2019. You can get a paperback for $14.95 or your Kindle version for $7.99, Behaving Bravely, How to Mind Shift Life's Challenges by Anita K. Anita, thank you for being on Finding a Frequency today.
It's been my absolute pleasure. I wish everybody a time of behaving bravely, and please stay safe.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Anita K, life coach and motivational life coach. I mean, somebody who had $300 to her name with a child and was able to recover from that. Yeah, I think you could be my life coach too. You guys, please make sure you share this podcast and radio show. We're on everywhere that podcasts are available. Please give us 5 stars, because why would you not? That's way better than 4. We'll definitely take those 4-star reviews. And again, share it. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/finding your frequency. Follow all the action from blog.voiceamerica.com. And of course, also follow me at Radio Ryan 1. And of course, I'm on Facebook under Radio Ryan 1 as well. Thank you again, Anita K, for joining us on the show. And make sure you guys are out there living your frequency. But remember, take 2 steps back and find it first.